Start the recording, switch screens. You know what? It might help if I had Firefox up. I'll do that. While that's going on, I gotta briefly put us back on here so I can do my password. But yeah, welcome back, guys. This is our 35th episode of Ophion. I only have a few quick announcements. The first is we have actually filled our last remaining player slot. They will not be joining us until next week, though, so look forward to that. My understanding is that they will be playing a joined Trill CMO, which I think we're all looking forward to seeing how they flesh out as a character. The other announcement, and I've said this before, but I think since we're getting closer to the event, I'll say it again. During the week of PAX West, I think that's, yeah, the first week of September, basically. I will obviously be in Seattle, and I will be running a in real life game if I can manage to snag a table. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, just watch my Twitter. It's pretty much going to be me announcing what table I have, or hell, if I've got to host it at my Airbnb, I'll do that. But it's probably also worth saying, just we're not going to have a game that week. I'm not even going to try and do a mobile version of our game. It's just not worth the effort, in my opinion. And plus, I don't have a powerful enough laptop. The other thing I guess I should notice, or should, make a note of, since it appears to be going slow here too, I have been having internet issues all day. So if for whatever reason I drop out of stream or drop out of, anything, we'll deal with tech issues as they spring up. I'm hoping Roll20 gets its act together, but we'll see. Other than that, I will say that as soon as the captain's done reading his log, we're actually going to jump into a extended scene where I've given enough notes to players where they can play out that scene themselves. So if you have, so players, if you have any questions about said scene or the information you're getting, just speak up and I'll chip in as needed. But this is pretty much going to be player driven for the probably the next 15 to 30 minutes. That said, unless anyone's noticing any tech issues, doesn't appear anyone's yelling at me. Okay, Captain, if you want to get us started with your log.
Captain's log, stardate 56562.9. The Ophion's repairs at Deep Space Daedalus have been cut short by the reemergence of a threat that Starfleet considers extremely dangerous. Previous records of this threat are extremely classified, and thus not even Admiral Thesio was able to give me all the information that I'd wanted. Still, I've been given access to declassified records, and with permission to distribute among my crew as a need to know. Our mission is at first to determine if this Captain Harlock and the Arcadia poses a threat to the Federation, and Starfleet would like to get some more insight on the technical specifications of his equipment, if possible. The Ophion's Gamma section is still undergoing repairs, and it is unlikely it will be fully combat ready by the time we run into this ship. This is going to be a fun one, folks. End log.
All right. So we open it up, actually, with everybody in the briefing room. And if you happen to see any Lysithia crew or you're missing someone, just shout and we'll fix. But as the captain has said, he does have access to certain data, and he's pretty much called a briefing with everyone of import and is now going over said data. So again, I'm going to let you guys run the scene, and if you need any information or need me to jump in, just shout.
All right. For flavor purposes, I'd like to have this briefing before we depart Deep Space Daedalus.
Okay.
So if there's anyone who needs station resources after this, then we can do that. Thank you all for coming, and I sincerely apologize for cutting everyone's leave short. But Starfleet has a priority mission for us. At this point, I'll pull up the sensor image that was shown, as well as any other images of the Harlock Arcadia that might have been given to me.
Sure, and I actually do have a little bit to read as I put this token on the map. So hopefully you now can see the little Arcadia token at the top of the screen there, top right. and I'll kind of describe what you're seeing. So it's a very similar design to old Terran battleships. And I say that because it has a sort of elongated front section with legitimately like three-pronged turrets that are on tracks that go throughout the hull. It also has a bunch of anti-air turrets, things of that nature. But what makes it different from a battleship is that it has these sort of long bone-like structures that sprout from equidistant points on the upper part of the hull, as well as a sort of bow structure on the bottom. And on the prow of the vessel is a big old tremendous skull decoration, which is slightly colored differently from the rest. So whether or not it's actually skull material or if it's something special, the captain may or may not know. The other thing of note is that part of the backside of the ship does appear to be faux wood, if not actual wood, and it's also flying what appears to be an old Jolly Roger from Pirates in Earth's history. And that's pretty much what you're seeing at the moment.
This is a ship known as the Arcadia. No, this is not any version of the USS Arcadia. This is a different ship named the Arcadia. Starfleet scans believe that it emanates from a different universe entirely, not even the mirror universe that we have come to know and love. It is captained by a gentleman calling himself Captain Harlock. If I have any pictures of him, I'll post that on screen now.
You do. And I also have a small bit of blurb to read. So, pretty much Harlock looks like his token, but to kind of give you a bit of a mental picture, if you're not familiar with Harlock, he is a seemingly human man, and he's very striking. He has a lean figure, he has messy brown hair, and a facial scar that kind of trails across his right eye, and the eye itself is covered by an eye patch. He wears black attire with red and white lining, and he has brown gloves and boots, and a cape with a red interior and a Jolly Roger near the neck area. His belt buckle also has a skull, but probably what really catches your attention about the belt area is that he has a saber sheathed on the belt.
The first encounter with this vessel was on Stardate 50892.1 with the USS Arcadia A. It was responding to a distress call at Outpost Epsilon 10. It was claimed by a rogue ion storm. However, we suspect that this ion storm was actually being produced by our Harlock's Arcadia. The Federation's Arcadia A moved to intercept, and this happened slightly before the Borg. Chronometers say that the attack commenced barely before the Borg's attack on Earth, which we are all very familiar with Captain Picard's first contact mission. What is odd about Captain Harlock is, well, many things. He seems to act as both a privateer and protector, and his ship, being the size that it is, roughly 1 kilometer long, has actually never been seen to travel about very much. It stays on the fringes of Federation and unexplored space, popping in and out every now and then to either attack Federation worlds or, more often than not, defend them from whatever plagues them at the moment. He's claiming something about the crew. Anyways, I get distracted. Back to Epsilon 10 and the first encounter. He claimed that there was something called Gaia Sanction. And neither Starfleet and the Arcadia A was never able to determine what Gaia Sanction is, but perhaps it's a rogue, perhaps it's an evil empire in his day, in his universe that he is fighting against. Arcadia A attempted to fight Harlock's Arcadia and found out that they were vastly outgunned by their weapons. Change to a tactical readout of the ship. This ship is armed with something called pulsar cannons, on large tracks. Indicate them on the hololith. They're providing near total cover in terms of firing arcs, and they fire electromagnetic radiation band that are capable of disrupting power systems even through shielding. Murthrin, I'm sending you the data on what the Arcadia A was able to understand from their weaponry. Hopefully we can come up with a form of defense. I'll take your silence as consent.
I don't know, do we lose Murthrin? Oh, he's
Well, if
talking.
they act as some sort of electromagnetic pulse,
Oh no, there we go.
don't see shields
I
being
forgot
very
I changed the push to talk key.
Sorry, you were saying, Locke?
If it's electromagnetic based? I don't know if our shields will ever be much effective. Even modulating them might not be able to stop the effects of EMP without disrupting the shields.
Agreed.
I'll defer to Commander Murthrin's expertise.
Agreed. If most of
Well,
our
there are certain measures you can take, but I'll get back to you on those.
In the meantime, Captain, appealing to Harlock's affinity towards interceding on behalf of Federation worlds may be our best option in choosing to parley with him.
Agreed. That is the option that I wish to pursue, is investigation through diplomacy. We don't. Arcadia has as much a history of assisting the Federation as much as committing crimes against it. It was seen during Stardates. Where was it? It was seen during the fringes of the Dominion War, where he's actually been witnessed fighting off vastly superior fleets with his own vessel, saving several colony worlds out in the fringes. While Starfleet's main fleets were, of course, protecting the core worlds and the major war fronts, there were still skirmishes being fought along all edges of Federation space, and some of these worlds have Captain Harlock to thank.
This could prove him to be amenable to negotiation. Perhaps the Federation could offer some sort of assistance with any supplies he needs to prevent him from further raiding of other worlds. In return, he could provide assistance towards fringes of the Federation in space that we cannot reach quite as actively.
It's entirely possible. Let's see, where was this part of the briefing? Yes, he does. He does value freedom above all else, and kind of similar and somewhat worrying of the mindset of the Maquis during their prime. But he does express distrust of Starfleet and the Federation. He's been known to question, if Starfleet is such a peaceful entity, why do we carry weapons that could lay waste to cities and worlds if need be? And, well, we don't have the best history of using those weapons truly peacefully, do we?
This is a bit of a hypocritical view taken from Harlock, considering his vessel itself is quite adequately armed to fend off fleets of Jem'Hadar ships.
Agreed. He is a bit. There's a definite hypocrisy about him, and that is very mysterious. And hopefully, we will be able to shine some light on it. This will be of interest to both you, Murthrin, and Locke. Is the technology that we know about his ship? His engine and power core seem to use dark matter manipulation, and has been seen to, or is estimated to have efficiency rates much better than our current warp core technology.
That's intriguing and concerning.
Very. It means that attempting to destabilize his power, if it ever comes to a combat fight, is probably not going to function. We'll have to attempt different tactics. The plus side, and I'll change the tactical screen on the ship again, is that while it's heavily armed and powered, he seems to forgo defensive capabilities. His shields only match the polarized hull plating of the NX classes in terms of power and coverage. However, his ship is large enough that most unless we're very good with our precision strikes, just shooting at random is probably not going to hit any critical system. And I suspect the ship has a decent layer of physical armor.
I'll get to work on some creative countermeasures.
Mr. Locke, Class 8 probes and above can maintain high factors of warp speed. Would the antimatter contained within them be used to disrupt his dark matter reactor?
Without knowing the exact nature of the dark matter, hard to say, or even its universal laws. I don't even know how his ship, since it's from a different reality, if it would obey all of our physical laws, if it's basically a pocket dimension, or they've manifested their particular version of reality in our own. There's too many variables to know without further scans.
A more thorough investigation on his weapon systems. Highlight the skull area. The eyes on these skull prow are torpedo launchers. We're not entirely sure what yield they possess. They did not seem to be in active use while being observed. But it does appear that these are the only torpedo launchers that he has, and they seem to be locked in a forward-facing position. Also, we're very concerning is the large prow lance, used what we assume for grappling or extremely large targets and bringing them in to loot and plunder.
This would fit with the motif he seems to be going with.
Agreed.
Makes you wonder what kind of ships he's used to fighting in his own universe.
Yes, that's very disconcerting indeed.
Captain?
Yes.
What is the last known location of the Arcadia, and are there any nearby Federation colonies we should be concerned with?
Let's see. The Arcadia's appeared near Theta Cygni 12, and we're not sure where it is, or we're not sure why yet. There is a few burgeoning colony worlds out there, but they have not thrived since they've not fully recovered since the days of Kirk's day. You may recall that there was in your briefing notes. You'll see you'll see event log entries from Kirk, referring to some single-celled parasites that have been known to cause these systems to completely destabilize, causing much suicide and chaos and murder. And the original, the bugs could only be wiped out through ultraviolet light. So, since then, the whole area has sort of been a middling system, or middling series of colonies. The Federation certainly recognizes them as part of our territory, but they don't make much noise, and neither do we. We haven't had much cause to head out there, aside from random patrol sweeps.
Small note,
Admiral,
if I may.
Yes.
Just in case anyone is wondering, that would have been the TOS episode Operation Annihilate. The one where we find out Spock has 2 eyelids, apparently. It's a good episode, but carry on.
Yep. That's currently all the information that Starfleet has on this Arcadia and Harlock. That's not much to go on. And I wish that we had more time to stay in Daedalus for full operations, or full repairs. But Murthrin, you're going to have to repair on the fly. I've sought permission from Thesio to acquire a quarter rotation's worth of engineers from both the Deep Space Daedalus, and I managed to get some help from the Imperials, or the Formidables engineering crew. So you have a slightly larger crew, Murthrin.
Well, we'll put them to good use.
Thank you kindly. I wish...
And as there's a slight lull in the thing, Murthrin will sort of lean back to Ty and go, wasn't the Arcadia an Akira class?
Sovereign, sir.
Ah, right. I was going to say.
So, my goal is to initiate diplomacy with this individual. Starfleet's stance on Harlock and this Arcadia is gray at best. While Starfleet would like very much to get a hold of his ship and technologies, it's probably not possible for us to do so, given our ship's current combat capabilities versus his. Pretty much our goal is to act as a probe, inform Starfleet of his intentions, and if need be, by the time we are out and investigate and ascertain his desires and his intentions, the Formidable should be fully repaired at Deep Space Daedalus and can make their way out to assist if necessary.
Captain, did we have any idea of their sensor capabilities?
I'm afraid that's not included in the brief, as we should at least assume that their sensor capabilities are on par with our own.
Go ahead.
One thing we could attempt is an infiltration mission. If we don't need to destroy their ship or take a captive to get their technology, if we can just beam a small strike force over, that could potentially disable some weaponry if need be.
Agree. Indeed. That's a good idea, Lieutenant. And once we ascertain the ship's crew complement and can get an idea of what's going on inside, we can revisit this idea.
Have any overtures been made to the Oshirik's Ascendancy to inquire as to the information they've collected on the Arcadia?
I put in, on my way back to the Ophion upon being summoned, or upon being ordered to do so, I had put in a request with their diplomat for information. However, they have not yet responded. Does anybody have any other questions? Very well. Please note that this information is classified at level 8 within Starfleet. Please disseminate among your teams as necessary. Dismissed.
On the way out, I'll just grab Murthrin and say, I will expect standard reports on the function of the Ophion and any repairs you've made. And Mr. Locke, I believe you'll be working with a diminished research and development crew, but I still expect you to come with a couple of countermeasures before we get there.
Aye, sir.
Commander, if you could stay behind for a couple seconds.
I can.
Drake will leave with Shatsu, and probably everybody can hear the two of them talking about Drake just reassuring her, I'll go over all the weapons and the shield systems, and let me know if we're going to start running drills about assaulting the ship, kind of as we're walking out.
Okay.
So is Locke still in, or did he go out with Murthrin?
I think... Okay. There we go. We'll say Locke went with Murthrin. Unless he wanted to stay behind.
Well, go with Murthrin.
Okay. So yeah, now it is just Panek and Skull.
Two things, Commander. The first is if combat is needed against this behemoth, and let me start at the beginning. Admiral Thesso gave me a choice. He gave us the choice of staying behind and sending the Formidable to investigate, or sending us to go in our currently damaged state. I chose to go out because even if we are at full power, we wouldn't be able to match this thing's strength in terms of combat capabilities. This way, if the worst comes of it, the Formidable will be fully operational and able to assist if necessary. Thus, if we have to enter multi-vote assault mode during combat, I will take command of Gamma Section in its damaged form and ensure that all non-essential personnel are transferred to Alpha and Beta.
This is a logical assessment, Captain. We were also in a much better shape than the Formidable when we retreated from the skirmish.
Indeed. I heard that their repair schedule is actually doing far better than us. Apparently their modular armor design allows for much faster repairs than Starfleet's traditional ship design.
The Ophion is anything but traditional, Captain. I believe our ability to disengage from their different modules hampers our repair time.
Indeed it does. The other thing that I'd like you to keep an eye on, your Vulcan senses pointed towards, is while on Deep Space Daedalus, Madame Q paid me a visit. Just a brief one, thankfully. And she said that all is not as it seems. And then she poofed away.
She sounds as helpful as ever.
Absolutely. Which is why I did not deem it necessary to mention it to the entire crew, because we need the whole crew focused on the mission ahead, not second-guessing every self-sealing stem bolt that they come across.
It could be quite possible that AQ was responsible for moving this Arcadia into our universe.
Given what we know of the Q, it would not surprise me in the least.
While I have no adequate defenses to defend against a Q's intervention, I will do what I can to prevent such a thing.
It seems that as powerful as a Q is, they only appear as mature as beings who are far less developed as we are. One of these days, we might actually get them to admit why.
I find that highly improbable, Captain.
Yep. I slide a pad over to Panek. These are the engineers that Admiral Thesso has agreed to loan us from his ship, as well as a few others that Captain, whatever his name was, who's the captain of the Formidable?
Well, I'm drawing a blank now too. I'm pretty sure his name.
I think it begins with an L.
You think I would have written this down somewhere? Okay, it's not in those notes. Hold on.
I apparently don't have it either.
Yeah, it's like he's disappeared from literally all of my notes.
Here's their list of the engineers that Captain so-and-so of the Formidable has agreed to loan us to. Please make sure that they have quarters and assigned to the duty rosters as necessary.
I will assign them to duty stations, and I will pass this along to Commander Murthrin so that he may begin sending out duty stations for them to work on.
Thank you, Commander. As efficient as always. If you need me, I'll be in my ready room figuring out what the heck is going to happen here.
Aye, Captain. I'll take the con.
Yeah. Take the con and set us to set course to Cygni what was it called?
Theta Cygni 12.
Theta Cygni 12.
All right.
Aye, Captain.
So, all that said and done, obviously we do have a little bit of travel time between point A and point B. I only have one thing planned for this travel time, but that's going to pretty much involve Murthrin and his engineering crews finishing up repairs. But before we get to that, did anyone have any bits of RP they wanted to do along the way?
I have something I'd like to do.
Sure, where's it happening and who with?
It's happening with Murthrin in his quarters.
In his quarters.
Yes.
And I still keep forgetting to put in a quarters map, so we'll use the Theater of the Mind map.
Yeah. So basically the pretense is I know that Murthrin's working double shifts in engineering, so I don't want to bother him down there. And so I basically told the computer to let me know when Murthrin has returned to his quarters. So about 20 or 30 minutes after Murthrin has come back from a long and hopefully productive engineering shift. The captain's or the door chimes.
Come in.
And Skull enters in totally casual outfit, not his captain's uniform.
Yeah, you come into sort of Murthrin, sort of on the bed, sort of legs leaned up against the wall while he scratches away on a data pad and sort of jolts up and sort of gets into a proper sitting position when he sees the captain. Ah, sir.
At ease, Lieutenant Commander. I just came to see how you're doing. It's been a very ragged month for you, and I would not be a very good commanding officer if I didn't notice that my chief engineer was starting to show a bit of strain.
Yes, Jisa picked up on it too, sort of actually ordered me off the ship for 2 or 3 days.
Well, did it do any good?
Honestly, I think it did. Really helped clear the mind.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that indeed. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go to your replicator and order some tulaberry tea.
And Mother will sort of like come out and like sit over at the little table thing, sort of working away on the pad as he goes.
I'm just going to sit around awkwardly for a few seconds and just go. I just want you to know, Murthrin, that you're not the only one facing demons out here.
I imagine we all are.
Some more than others. If it helps, and if you'd like some... I know what it's like to have to face troubles with a smile and with the world's, or sometimes the Federation's, weight on your shoulders.
And sort of, Methrin will sort of initially nod and then sort of like stop and think about it and then sort of look at the captain again, put the datapad aside and say, is there something you're wanting to tell me?
I just would like you to know that for every day for the last, ever, and more so ever since taking command of the Ophion, every time I step onto that bridge, every time I look out the window of the captain's ready room, and I feel nothing but terror every single time.
Well, you do a very good job of hiding it, sir.
Yeah, you can probably thank this symbiote inside me. That's one thing that they do, is give perspective on things.
Perspective. Yeah. I find that's what I have the most trouble with. Sort of like sits there and just sort of looks out the window sort of contemplatively. Always takes someone else to actually pull me out before I can actually sort of stand back and... Yeah. I don't know. It's my default reaction is to just get my head buried further in and focus on what's immediately in front of me.
I'm afraid, Commander or Lieutenant Commander, you're at a position in your career where that is no longer that's no longer a healthy way of looking at things.
Burden of command.
I hear you. I'm not going to lie, Lieutenant Commander. Ever since the doctor left, I have been hesitant to appoint a proper third of command. And I'm going to be frank, I'd like that to be you, but I don't think you're ready yet.
And you see Murthrin sort of visibly relax at that. He's like, oh, thank goodness. I thought you were going to promote me right then and there.
Oh, no. Certainly not. Not without proper pomp ceremony and at least a 24-hour warning.
No, I got my share of rapid promotions during the war. I'm perfectly happy to just stay here for as long as I feel comfortable.
I take a slightly knowing smile at that and just lean back on the couch. Yeah, you're doing all right, Murthrin. You're doing all right.
I try.
Yeah. Don't try. Succeed. You've done... Trying will get you so far. But don't be afraid to make mistakes. The recent war has left demons on us all. And through your empathic sense, you know that the Skull has not told you all of his demons. I just wanted to make sure that you are shipshape as the rest of the ship, and are focused on making the best of it.
I believe so.
Yes.
But certainly no worse off than I was when I took this commission.
I'm glad to hear that, Lieutenant Commander. Sorry, Mercer.
I like to think it's something about being brought up on Vulcan sort of gives you an ability to just be aloof when the need arises.
If the Vulcans don't preach anything else, it's how to be better than everyone else, or at least appear to be.
Try getting raised by 2.
No thanks. No thanks, Merthrin. You've proven that it's possible, and that good things can come out of it. But of all the experiences that the symbiote has, that's not one it chooses to have. Anyways, I apologize for the intrusion, and I wish you a good evening.
You too, Captain. When's your next time off?
I suspect the rate I'm going, I'll be court-martialed within a year, have my command stripped, and be put in a penal colony. I suspect that's the first time I'll have time off.
I'll come round and buy you a beer then.
You might have to smuggle some in, but I'm pretty sure Locke has a microtransporter somewhere on his person.
And Merthrin sort of taps his nose. No one can get past a security system like an engineer.
True enough. Good night, Merthrin.
Yeah, and he sort of like gives a cherry wave and lets you go off.
All right, cool. I also had the terrifying thought of Panek being a parent during that last bit.
Wow, thanks.
I mean, he's going to be at some point.
Oh, I know. I found it both hilarious and terrifying at the same time. Because Panek has that sort of dad voice that makes you disappointed. It's that threat of being disappointed, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to disappoint him.
Son, you scored 3 touchdowns today. You could have scored 4. Get better.
I'm just saying, I really wanted there to be some scene where Panek and I were playing the parental figures over Skull about something. I just thought it would have been so hilarious.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I think I scored 1 goal in a practice soccer match in primary school, and I was so dumbfounded that I'd actually kicked it into the goal that I was in a state of shock for the next 15 minutes.
My sports highlight is a single touchdown in high school football. And it was completely by accident.
I'll stay out of this argument.
Oh, God. All right, so slightly refocusing. All right, so that's the one scene. Did anyone else have any RP they wanted to get out of the way? Or shall we switch to Merthrin frantically repairing things?
Well, not an RP scene, but I do want Merthrin to sort of like look at the data and start coming up with potential countermeasures to the Arcadia's weapons.
Okay. I think how I want to handle that is... how do I want to say this? So the finishing the repairs on the Ophion is going to be an extended task. And the reason we're doing it as an extended task is because you only have so many intervals of time before you will arrive at Theta Cygni 12. Now, if you are able to complete the extended task before, a certain number of time intervals, then yeah, you would have time left over to then start looking at the Arcadia data and coming up with defenses. I mean, alternatively, you could shunt some of that work off to your extended engineering crew, but there's a possibility they may not finish the work just as you will with an extended task.
Okay, let's focus on getting the Ophion up to full capacity.
Okay. Well, let's triple check. Any other scenes people want to get out of the way, or so we just jump into the extended task?
Skull has 2 quick things. They're not going to be scenes, but there's 2 things he's going to be doing.
Okay.
One is he wants to work with the transporter chief Chiz Talik on a custom transporter protocol.
Okay.
Basically what I want to do is if worse comes to worse, then and Captain finds himself doing the harebrained scheme that his player is currently planning, then basically it will just allow for Chiz Talik to roll a transporter use check, even if he's on another ship or another portion of the ship.
Interesting. I mean,
Yep.
I'm curious as to where this is going, but I guess we'll all find out at the same time.
Or you won't, depending on how the Harlock thing goes. The second thing is going to be the captain in the shuttle bay.
Okay.
What he is going to do is rig a program that, at the push of a button, will raise the shuttle bay doors and release the inertia clamps on the Valkyrie.
Okay.
So, again, working on a harebrained scheme here. Might work, might not. Who knows?
It's interesting.
And yes,
I'm just trying to figure out where is he going with this. All right. Sure. Okay. Yeah, all that can happen.
He's going to drive a dune buggy out onto the ship and then drive into the warp core.
I mean, I've heard of crazier player plans before. All right.
It
So
worked
that's
for
what
Master
Skull's
Chief.
doing. Let's just go down the list, because I do want to give everyone a fair and equal opportunity. So, Panek, are you up to anything?
No, I'm just running around, making sure everyone's doing their job. Repairs are going. Running readiness drills with Drake.
All right. Well, speaking of Drake, you have anything for us?
No scenes, just what I guess carrying out on what I'd said with Shatsu about making sure weapon systems, defensive systems are good, and then also if she is going to start running drills of people, infiltrating the other ship, then to help out or be involved in that in any and every way possible.
I think that would be a good idea. I don't believe there's been any mention of Harlock having transporter technology, correct?
That is correct. And there's actually something you did not mention during your briefing, but I'm just going to assume that's an oversight.
Quite possibly.
But I guess I do want to also log that I'm going to go through some of my intelligence channels and see if I can get more detailed reports of the capabilities of the ship,
Okay,
of
let's
Harlock's Arcadia.
Let's dive into that a little bit. Out of curiosity, do you have a specific individual or organization that you have in mind for as a contact?
The only thing I could think of is like my old handlers, or because I'm not a part of the, we wear all black people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that came out really bad, but I'm glad everybody understood what I meant.
No, I debated phrasing, but I thought better of it.
But I probably just go through my old handlers and any of the other members of my old group.
Okay. How do I want to handle this in a roll fashion? Why don't you do me a 1d20 in chat?
Okay.
And obviously, since this is a lower is better system, lower will be better. Well,
of course.
With a natural 20, your message either is not transmitted, is not responded to, or is otherwise ignored.
Okay. I was gonna say, or could it be a I'm smiling here, but a succeed with cost, as in someone else on the ship who may or may not have intelligence ties catches on?
Yes, I will say that too, Locke. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
We'll say, funnily enough, Locke, since you are former Intel, I would think, and you can feel free to correct me, I would think you would at least be on the lookout for any Intel-type transmissions, maybe?
Yep. Really.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I have my system set up to detect that sort of thing, and it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
You have a leak.
So,
Yeah, and it's like buried deep. But I mean, it would make sense that Locke would find it because, he used to work for intelligence.
Right. Okay, so Locke, you're going to get this same information piped to you in just a different fashion, but same info. So Drake, what you get back from your, I guess we'll use your handler, one of them anyway. We'll call him Mr. Johnson in true Shadowrun fashion. What you get from Mr. Johnson is that there's two very important bits of information that may affect your strategy. So, as the captain realized, the briefing omitted the fact that, or omitted the fact whether or not Harlock has transporter technology. What Starfleet intelligence seems to know is that not only does he not have transporters, it's also near impossible to transport into the Arcadia. So that the only way you're getting in or out of the Arcadia is via a shuttle or an exosuit. The other bit of information you're going to get is that the sort of skull-like prow, that is one hell of a battering ram. And it's been on record more than once during the Dominion War that Harlock has used that very same battering tack that the Dominion used against them. And the Arcadia has been no less for the wear because of it. So that may be concerning, they may not be. Oh, and also Mr. Johnson says you owe him 3 strips of latinum, and he's going to collect soon.
I will tell Mr. Johnson that the latinum is on its way, and thank him for the information, and to keep me apprised of any other new information about this Harlock and his Arcadia that's not being passed through normal channels.
Okay.
And I'll actually, as soon as I get off the transmission or get his transmission, I'll actually start, air quotes, wiring him the latinum. And I'll actually put a couple extra strips in.
Smart move. Okay. I believe that brings us to Locke before we handle Murthrin's thing. So Locke, obviously, again, you would have gotten all the information, but is there anything you in particular would like to accomplish?
I think Locke is just doing the big extended science montage. Trying. I think he'd particularly be trying to figure out a way to maybe use the phasers to shoot the cannonball, like the electromagnetic cannonballs out of there. So kind of countermeasures.
Let's see. How do I want to handle that? Why don't we do a simple task to see if anything comes to mind, sort of like a logic test in D&D or a inspiration test in other systems. And of course, if you have Technobabble, please, by all means. Let's do a... How about a reason or insight plus science? I would think either would be applicable. And I'm going to set the difficulty at a 4. And to be nice, I'm going to let the Ophion assist with this. And the Ophion will assist with computers and science.
Alrighty, I'll get that done.
I'm going to be that person. I'm going to give you 1 threat to buy an extra dice.
I don't ever feel like that makes you a person. I always will love threat.
Let's see.
That is using the system mechanics the way they are meant to be used.
Exactly.
Or we're just going into a big fight with a boss guy, and I'm giving the DM more. So let's see. Probably don't have anything. Focus is releasing move.
Well,
For some reason, I was doing reasons.
By me. Maybe I'll let it happen.
Yeah, I don't think gadgeteering would work or slipstream dynamic.
Probably not.
It's like casting suggestion on the guard to get him to let you pass. Sure, it'll backfire spectacularly if it goes wrong, but you expect that to happen if it goes wrong. You don't feel like you got screwed.
So, you get a momentum. Nice. I don't know who's keeping track of that this session, but yeah, you guys are at 1 momentum.
Good show.
And, yeah, Locke, it occurs to you, and again, you can feel free to fluff it differently. It occurs to you that while traditional sort of shielding technology doesn't necessarily have a good defense against EM radiation, there are several precedents in Starfleet's history of, how do I want to say this, using the deflector in a creative fashion. Because if you think about it, the deflector basically keeps out not only, stray particles in space and radiation and things of that nature, but all radiation is, just like EM stuff, it's just particles. And if you, rejigger the
And the
deflector in a
does
certain
also
way,
deflect micrometeorites. So
yeah, like micrometeorites and stuff. Your second or maybe your initial thought is, maybe if I focus on a creative way to use the disruptor, or not the disruptor, the deflector, this might be something fruitful.
Right, yeah. So I analyzed the damage done to the Arcadia A Federation ships and get the exact energy frequency of their weapons and set the deflectors to screen against that particularly.
Okay.
Creating a filter for that particular energy.
Okay.
The flavor.
Let's do it this way. I'll say that you're able to make the modification, but unless even if you were to do a bunch of holodeck simulations, I would say you're not going to know if and how this modification works unless Harlock actually fires on you.
It's all theoretical because you could have changed his frequency.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a whole lot of unknowns, but you're using the information you got on hand. Okay. Anything else, Locke, before we go to Murthrin?
Yeah, that sounds good for me.
Okay.
On the spotlight.
So as I scroll through maps here to get to main engineering, we show up in main engineering, and it's time for an engineering montage. So, Murthrin, just to be extra sure, are you putting your personal focus on repairs or on Arcadia defenses?
repairs.
Okay. In that case, I need you to roll me. I guess I should define the extended task first. So the extended task, so that everyone can keep track, the work track is going to be 12. The default difficulty is going to be a 3. The default task is going to be control engineering, but of course you can give me another argument for such. And the magnitude is also going to be we'll make the magnitude a 4. The ship will not assist on this, is the one thing I will say.
Alright, so it was a reason plus engineering, was it?
Control and engineering, but if you have
Control.
an argument for reason,
No. Control works as well.
Okay.
Yeah, just checking which one it works, because as it turns out, the talent applies to both.
Oh, well, there you go.
Because I've got intense scrutiny. When you succeed a task using reason or control as part of an extended task, ignore up to 2 resistance for every effect rolled.
Nice. Glad I didn't put any resistance
Would
on
this
there,
count
then.
as determining the source of a technical problem with the ship, or do we know the problem and now we're fixing it?
She's broke, Jim.
Yeah, I would say you know the problem. Like, you can literally go to, say, deck 12 on the gamma section and go, yeah, that conduit should not be exposed like that.
Well, there's the problem. There's a hole in the ship.
Exactly. So here's your problem. But yeah, it is a difficulty 3 task, so I would recommend threat or momentum or things of that nature.
Yeah. Not being assisted by the ship's computers.
And as someone has pointed out, I am accounting, the difficulty 3 is accounting for your chief engineer benefit.
Coolio. Alright. Let's start by spending that 1 momentum and 2 threat to get 2 bonus dice, and hopefully that'll generate a lot of momentum I can use on the next ones.
I'm okay with this.
Hang on, let me just... Oh, just checking focuses. Yeah, ship power systems.
Yeah, I would say power systems is going to be at play no matter what you do. Hey, look at that. So, yeah, you get that momentum right back, actually. And yeah, Murthrin, if you would care to now roll me 2 plus your engineering, so a total of 7 challenge dice. Alright, so a total of 6 work done, half the work track knocked out initially. Cool. So, timeline-wise, you're able to repair some of the most egregious of holes in the hull of Gamma Section. And you're also able to catch, because you succeeded so well, you're also able to catch what would have been a potential conduit breach had a overload or, extra power been shunted through a particular section. But because you personally were sort of on site and overwatching everything, you caught that, hey, we need to reroute this power, or we need to add, more circuit breakers, things of that nature. And
Xenexia, did you remember to stress test this conduit?
No, sir. This was actually done by Prag. I'm surprised Prag didn't do it.
Well, I'll give him grief about it later. For now, let's make sure this thing doesn't blow up in our faces.
Agreed. And yeah, if you would roll me another control engineering this time, difficulty's only a 2 because you got a breakthrough.
Cool. And I think this time I'll just use that 1 momentum because that's going to disappear next scene anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Another 4.
Oh, you get 2 momentum this time. So, yeah, go ahead and roll me another 7 challenge dice, and we'll see if you knock this out early. Yeah, yeah, you knocked the hell out of it early. So, I of course, you can imagine it differently, but I imagine Murthrin basically saying to Captain Skull, it's going to take 3 days, and Murthrin finishes it in a day and a half.
The technical definition of a miracle worker.
Uh-huh.
You should make that a focus.
No. Never tell him how long it's actually going to take.
Actually, honestly, isn't the engineering book coming out soon? We might actually see that. Anyway. So yeah, Murthrin, you not only are able to patch up Gamma Section, you get it in slightly better working condition than Beta and Alpha. It's slightly disconcerting, actually, but the power systems,
they did give us an extra complement of engineers.
This is true, yeah. So you have so many extra engineers that, yeah, you complete this.
It's going to take me about 3 days. Oh, wait, I forgot we've got 50% more engineers than we usually do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good thing. And that means now that you have extra time to sort of come up with ideas for defenses against the Arcadia.
Alright, so they use electromagnetic cannonballs, I hear?
Not so much cannonballs as EM lances, I would say.
So, sort of EMP shockwave-based weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so strengthen all the EPS conduits again.
Okay.
Might I suggest coating everything with lead and don't lick anything?
Captain, that wouldn't... And then he stops and thinks about it. Actually, no, we do have enough raw replicator material to put a thin coating of lead on everything now I think about it. No, it wouldn't be workable. Okay, no. So I think what he's going to do is he's going to try and sort of come up with some sort of system to... Because, like, I'd imagine charging up an EM weapon generates a lot of sort of ambient static EM radiation in the process.
Fair assumption.
So I think he's going to tune the sensor systems to be paying particular attention to EM buildup, because normally that wouldn't be a thing you'd pay attention to. You'd be looking for like tetrion beams or something like that, and sort of come up with like some sort of like heuristic model to go, okay, if you've got a lance of EM pulse coming out in this direction, here's some like automatic kick to the side with the retro thrusters maneuvers to just have it so it becomes a glancing blow rather than a head-on attack. And then rely on the shield to do the rest of the deflecting.
So, you start working on this, and Zenixia, of course, is ever helpful as she is, but Prague does kind of walk up to you, looks over the modification, and says, all right, let me get this straight, Lieutenant Commander. You want us to treat this like we're going northwards into a southbound Targ's ass, right?
I mean, I'm hoping this mysterious Captain Harlock will be agreeable, but we don't want to take chances.
But you do realize that Locke's already modified the deflector. Didn't you see it? It's right here. And he pulls up a little screen that shows all the modifications Locke's made thus far.
How did I... Oh, no. Has he? Oh, he has, hasn't he? Oh, for goodness gracious. Merther to Locke, I am coming up there. We are having a discussion.
Aye, sir.
I will set up for said discussion.
Oh, Commander, while you were busy fixing the ship,
you rerouted the deflector through the joining clamps for the beta section.
It seemed the easiest way to get the necessary power to avoid the shockwave.
Yeah, and the easiest way to electrocute everyone on Deck 8.
Okay, let's pre-evacuate Deck 8.
And he just sort of rubs his temples and goes, sort of like, takes his hand out, sort of takes Locke by the back of the neck and just gently marches him out in the direction of main engineering.
What was that all taking place on the bridge or in one of the science labs?
I'm assuming in the science lab.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's say in the science lab.
And while he's sort of collaborating on the modifications with Locke, he'll sort of mention as an aside, so what do you make of this Harlock fellow?
Hard to tell. I don't know much about the ancient West or people with skull flags and the Jolly Roberts. It's
I was thinking
Polaris didn't really have a similar age of sail.
Well, I was thinking less about the aesthetics and more... Well, according to the reports, this guy's been sort of appearing in and out of Federation space for the better part of the last decade or so. And honestly, I was a little surprised I hadn't heard of him, but, Dominion War, everything was hectic. Wouldn't be surprised for something like that to slip through the cracks, especially if it wasn't a Federation ship, so it wouldn't appear on the regular channels. But, I don't know, why do you think he sticks around?
I imagine he's trapped in our reality. I don't know if he can travel back and forward. I imagine he's just making the best of it and doing what he does. It's almost sad, really. He's built his whole identity to be this rebel, and there's nothing to rebel against here.
Well, there's always something to rebel against.
He's obviously comes from some sort of dystopian place where there's like the mirror universe, where he had to fight and free people and work against oppression, and he's here, and it's in the Federation, and as close to utopia as is theoretically possible.
Now that's a thought. Wonder what I'm like in the mirror universe.
I always wonder if I'm going to be, if I've thought about that, if what Mirror Lock would be, if he'd be some horrible sociopathic scientist, or the opposite, and be some sort of risky daredevil.
And yeah, Mithra will sort of slowly turn to look at Locke and raise an eyebrow, but not say anything. All right. So, are we doing anything mechanically with the things, or is that all narrative as well?
I'm going to say that's all going to be narrative. Again, unless you have a specific idea, we can do another sort of idea sort of roll.
Not really. Sort of, Mithran's just got to sort of, once he sees what Locke's going, he go, okay, no, that does make sense. Now, let me show you how to do it without breaking everything.
Okay.
Oh, I had also had an idea about the quantum slipstream drive. I'll just run that past you. Just laying down for foreshadowing in case it needs to come up.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. Did you have anything specific about QSD, or is this kind of a now about QSD and then the camera cuts away?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So I can spring in and surprise it if it comes up. But I've also established that I've talked about Murther.
Okay. And yeah, Drake, I did see your message, but when I tried to reply, I ended up hitting lock instead, so...
I saw that. That's actually like the second or third time you've done that.
Yeah, and I think it's because you both have Lieutenant Dot as your name.
Oh, gotcha.
So if one of you changes it, it should hopefully go to the right person. Anyway. Okay. Any sort of last call for any bits of RP before you guys will arrive at Theta Cygni 12?
Any success from the Oshirix?
Actually, yes. And I will put you in your ready room for this. Let's see. All right. So, Skull, you're doing Skull things in your ready room. And you do indeed get a message from... what did I call the ambassador? You get a message from the Oshirix ambassador. And it is a real-time communication. And assuming you answer it...
Well, of course.
They appear on screen and say, Captain Skull, it is a pleasure to hear from you. I understand you wish to gather further information on an individual known as Captain Harlock. Is this correct?
That is correct. Surely his ship has appeared on your monitoring arrays even probably more often than he's appeared on ours. I'm very curious what the Oshirix take on him is.
One moment. And you see them sort of working off screen a little bit, and they turn back to you and say, without knowing how much you know about Captain Harlock and his Arcadia, I will simply say that your greatest, say, defensive tactic will be to avoid his ramming tactic. Everything that we've picked up about him shows that either he is very adept at repairing his vessel, or his vessel has self-regenerative capabilities.
Well, that's disconcerting.
And in addition, we're not 100% sure on this, as you can never be 100% sure when you're just listening. But there have been whispers among the colonies that we are able to, I hesitate to use the word eavesdrop, but it does seem fitting, that we eavesdrop on. And several of those colonies have mentioned in whispers and rumors that the Arcadia might possess also some form of advanced and artificial intelligence.
Good to know.
Aside from that, Captain Skull, I don't really know what else would be of use to you. Did you have anything in particular?
Yes. During our chronological time... Sorry, I've developed the hiccups, damn it. Between... Let's see the briefing here. Yeah, between our Starfleet calendar of 2376 and 2379. The Arcadia has completely fallen off of our sensor grid. Are you able to provide any information where he may have gone during that time?
Moment. Works a little bit again, comes back and says, no. However, and again, these are unsubstantiated rumors that we have picked up, but it seems that the Arcadia might have been on the opposite side of the quadrant. Actually, quite literally in the beta quadrant, by all accounts.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for your intelligence and information, Ambassador.
Of course, and I do hope that our people are able to find a peaceful way of joining together that does not upset our neighbors.
Agreed. And it will take some time, and they just have to get used to the fact that there's new technology in play, and I hope that our agreement for sharing what information we can with them will placate them. But time will tell.
Indeed. Be pleased, and unless you stop him, the message will go dark.
Can I chime at the captain's door?
You certainly can.
Enter.
And Drake will walk in and stand a few feet in front of the captain's desk at attention.
Lieutenant, as you were.
And he'll go to like a rest position. So I was going over some of the data that was recovered from the Arcadia A against Harlock's Arcadia. And there's two bits of information that have kind of come to light. One is our idea of possibly infiltrating their ship is probably going to be a bust. Apparently, the commander, Crowley, in charge of the Arcadia, suggested the same tactic, and they were able to determine that that Harlock's Arcadia can't be transported into. The only way that you'd be able to get into it is taking a shuttle and or an exosuit and cutting your way in. And the problem with that is, as we saw in the reports, this thing is bristling with AA weapons.
Yes, it is.
The second thing wasn't actually from the Arcadia, but more from some of the other reports concerning how this Harlock and his ship did during the Dominion War against the Jem'Hadar. Jem'Hadar like to occasionally ram their ships into other people.
Yes, they're suicidal warriors, when they have no other choice, are they?
Yeah, very much so. If they don't think they can win it, they're just going to take you with them. This Harlock's Arcadia, this big skull that's on the front of his ship.
It's a ramming device.
It is a ramming device. The Jem'Hadar apparently sent multiple ships, one after the other, into it, and, well, it's still around.
Yes. I'm making a note that I absent-mindedly make a note on my pad that if for some reason we have to destroy the ship, try to see if this ramming technology will work against those planet killers.
All right.
It won't, of course, but yes. I'd recently come to similar conclusions, Lieutenant. And out of curiosity, your tactical skills are well known. How are you at technical skills? Those are not mentioned in your file.
Well, I've been known to pick my way through any lock anybody has ever made. But beyond that, and shipboard tactical systems, I'm all right at computers. What did you have in mind?
Well, I'm getting awfully tired of Federation transporters not beaming through other people's shieldings. I'm going to tap on the pad and release the or the technical specifications for that invasive transporter that we picked up in Tholian space from those people?
The Chanel transporter.
Chanel, yes. I'm just going to slide this across the table to Lieutenant Drake. I understand.
Drake will kind of go through it as the captain's talking.
Yeah. This is obviously far too large a project to complete in such short a time, Lieutenant, but I foresee a significant tactical advantage with this system. Do you?
Well, Captain, no offense, but an idiot would be the only thing that couldn't see the tactical advantage of being able to teleport past somebody's shielding. But I do see a problem with this, though, that if the ship's big enough and their shields are strong enough, the signal will just bounce right off of it.
It's not a perfect solution, but it's better than what we're working with now. If we survive this in one piece, I'd like you to quarterback with Locke and see about implementing this into our systems. Or at least pushing him in the direction of getting it done.
Understood, sir. I will cattle prod the Bolian into doing what you want.
Thank you.
And I'll just look at him blankly.
Let's use the electric method of command as a last resort, Lieutenant.
Very well, Captain.
Thank you for stopping by, Lieutenant.
Not a problem, Captain. And Drake will salute and then leave the room.
As he leaves, I give a lazy salute to the closing door. Such a high. Is this what everyone? Or make some sort of comment about soldiers and their they're both exemplary discipline and their lack of anything else.
Okay.
Just to myself.
All right. Okay then. Final call for any bits of RP before you guys arrive. Okay. I'm hearing we're good to go. In that case, I'm going to put you on a map, but don't freak out. I have some explaining and RP to do before we, deal with what's on the map.
I'm going to show you something scary. Don't be scared.
Yeah, don't be scared quite yet.
Oh, what the hell?
Like I said, I'm going to explain what's here.
You have a lot of explaining to do, mister.
I know. I have a lot of explaining to do. I just have to adjust the map so that everyone can see it. Alright. So, when you arrive in system, and let me make sure that my screen is on the appropriate thing. Oh, wow. It appears that half my name tags are not showing. Oh, well. Not a big deal. So, as you arrive in system, and, all of you are at your appropriate duty stations, immediately, both on the view screen and via sensors, you are reading a massive brawl currently being fought in orbit around Theta Cygni 12. Now, most of the combatants seem to be Orion in nature, so all these little interceptors that you're seeing, I don't think there's a mass way for me to toggle on their names, so I'll just toggle on a couple. There's a bunch of these interceptors around the Arcadia, but there's also the larger sort of carrier-sized vessels, 4 in all, that are also around it. Now, of course, in the middle is the Arcadia, pretty much as you saw it on the briefing. And pretty much as you, take a few moments to take stock of the situation, you do see the Arcadia's cannons realign themselves, line up a few shots, and they blow 3 interceptors completely out of the water. Like, they are gone. And yeah, that is the situation you guys now find yourselves in. It's very important to note you are not in Starship combat at the moment, but there is sort of a narrative timer to certain events.
Right. Yellow alert. Raise shields. Bring up weapons.
Should I hail the Arcadia or the Orions, Captain?
I kind of just want to see this play out. But no. Locke, what is the status of the Arcadia?
I'm going to do a very light, unintrusive scan of it to make sure.
Okay.
Try not to draw too much attention to ourselves.
So I'll say the same thing I said to the Arcadia group. Scanning this thing is going to be very difficult. And it's almost as if your sensors are unable to penetrate and get a real good feel for, say, the interior of the vessel. Now, the exterior, you have no problem scanning, but, the interior, not so much. So I guess my question is, what are you more focused on learning information-wise?
At this point, I want to find out, well, are they just starting the fight, or have they been beaten to hell already?
I
So
would
let's see.
say that let's make a roll out of it because you are down to 1 momentum and you guys could use it. Go ahead and roll me a reason science, assisted by the ship's sensor science, and we'll make this a difficulty 1. And we'll see how much momentum you got. Well, that is a complication.
They have totally detected us.
Is someone rolling for the ship?
Sure.
Sensor science from the ship, please.
They know not only Captain. They not only know we're here. I think they know that we're focusing their scans on them and not the Orions.
That's
job,
a total of 3.
Yeah, so you get 2 momentum. You're up to 3 momentum. And so Locke, what you're able to determine is that based on the sheer amount of wreckage that is sort of surrounding the Arcadia, it's been dishing out some heavy punishment. If you had to guess, at least 2 or 3 of the carriers have completely exhausted their fighter complement or their interceptor complement. And what you're seeing now is whatever is left of all of their fighter craft.
Now, point of order, this is Federation space, right?
So that is something that is not 100% sure in canon. Did I have a map ready for this? I did not. If you would, I think it's in resources somewhere. If you were to look at the map that we're given as part of STA, right above, what is it? Right below the logo, like the big old Starfleet logo, and right above Zenkethi space is Theta Cygni. And this map does not have Theta Cygni being in Federation space. So I went with the mindset that this is a human colony, but it is not a member state, because there's a fair amount of those around. It's just that we mostly hear about, Federation colonies.
All right, so no luck scaring the Orions off with, oi, get out of our space.
Probably not.
I mean, if anything's going to scare off the Orions, it's the Arcadia.
And I don't think any one of us could have said it better than Murthrin did with his accent.
Yes.
Oh, dear. All right.
Oi, get out of my space or I'll phase your warp course right off. Swear on me, Mom.
That is the greatest war cry ever.
BRB remaking the dedication plaque.
Oh, dear. All right. Well, what is your course of action at this point?
I want to let this play. Unless I hear good arguments otherwise, I'm all for moving the Ophion between the Brawl and the planet. Let's ensure that civilian casualties do not occur.
Okay.
Tactically speaking, Captain, if we are going to possibly duke it out with this Arcadia, might as well use some cannon fodder first. If you get my meaning.
I get your meaning, Lieutenant, but we don't know what his intentions are. Given the fact that each one of these Orion barges each one is probably less armed than we are, but there's still much more of them. And the Arcadia doesn't appear to have taken much in the way of actual damage from this firefight, and it's been going on for a while. I don't want to piss it off unduly.
Captain, we could leverage any assistance we provide the Arcadia to get Harlock to come to the negotiation table.
Now that's an interesting idea. Helm, set a course for the for standard orbit, taking a circuitous route around the combat zone. Senior Chief Tin, please hail the Arcadia.
All right. So
My station, but okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Commander, please hail the...
I get them. Hailing the Arcadia.
No, you heard him. 10, get up, walk across the room, kick Panek out of his station, and do it. I mean, the captain said it, right?
Oh god. So actually, as you're saying that order, the Arcadia fires again, and this time, this swath of interceptors is completely wiped out. And yeah, you begin a sort of journey, and I might put us in Starfleet ship combat. I might not. We'll see how this hail goes. So Panek, you send out the call to the Arcadia, and I'm curious, do you actually transmit a message, or is this simply a "hey, we want to talk" type ping?
Do you want to send a message, Captain?
Yes. Identify us as the USS Ophion from Starfleet. Advise that we are willing to assist with the battle if they need it, but our first priority is ensuring the safety of our first priority at this moment is to ensure the protection of the citizens below.
Okay. So you transmit that message, and you get a text reply back, Panek. And that reply is, focus on this barge here. And I'm going to put a... I don't think we use yellow, do we? Nah, we don't use yellow. I'm going to put a yellow dot on the barge that he has indicated for you to focus on. So this barge right here.
Captain, the Arcadia has responded. They are designating fire targets. What are your orders?
Very well. Red alert. Battle stations. Battle stations we will not engage multi-vector assault mode at this time.
Okay. So,
Weapons charging, Captain.
Save that for when he tries to ram us, and then we just split the ship apart in all directions.
all right, so I'm not going to do full initiative order here because that would take 6 years, and we're not going to do fleet combat again, but we are going to treat this as normal starship combat. So I guess I got to line us on up with the dots. All right, so it is, of course, the player's turn first. What would you like to do?
Now, I mean, that's medium range. We could blast them either with photons or phasers. What is the status of the barge? Has it suffered any damage?
This particular barge does not appear to have been damaged in any way. Excuse me. It is simply sort of, I wouldn't call it sitting in space, but it is kind of station keeping and taking pot shots at the Arcadia.
Ready. Scan for weaknesses, I guess.
Sounds good to me.
All right, well, scan for weakness. That's going to be a... well, who's doing the scan? Would that be Locke?
Certainly Locke, I think.
Okay, just making sure. That's going to be a control science, and the ship is going to assist with sensor security. And this is going to be a difficulty 2 because you are at medium range.
I've got the ship.
Okay.
You said sensors and...
Security for the ship.
Gotcha.
All right, well, there's the 2 you need already. Let's see if the ship gives you any more. No, the ship does not.
Womp womp.
But still, you do indeed are able to pretty much... well, Locke, you're able to determine that the aft section of this Orion carrier, obviously, traditionally, that's where the engines are on any vessel, but you realize that the... I guess you would call them struts that are holding the engines in place. They have a structural weakness, and if you were to intensify forward firepower, you could potentially knock out those struts and cause the engines to more or less vibrate out of their shell and kind of rip off from the ship.
Their armor is definitely focused in the front for head-on attacks. They don't seem to be worried about being shot at from behind or when retreating. Focus the fire in the back. We should be able to disable their ship with minimal loss of life.
All right.
Works for me.
Just check ranges here. It is. Nice. All right. So we come to the Arcadia's turn. And on the Arcadia's turn, and I'm going to spend a little bit of threat so it can do this. As the Arcadia begins to move towards this barge, obviously these 4 interceptors try to move and intercept, but the Arcadia, through combined firepower of its EM pulsar cannons and its prow, just not only blow these interceptors out of the sky, but there's nothing left of them. Like, they are just debris in space. And the Arcadia keeps going. And keeps going, and then it impacts with the Orion barge, and I actually have to roll some challenge dice here. So let's see. Its prow does that many challenge die.
Goodbye.
Oh my god. Okay, so I don't know if you ever, as a kid, like had 2 ships and you went pew 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 pew. Imagine, like, slamming one into the other, and the one you slam into just completely breaks in half into, like, many pieces and just starts exploding. And
It's like slamming a real toy into a toy made out of Legos, and the Legos just disintegrate.
pretty much, yeah. Not only does this Orion barge splinter as if it is made of little tiny Legos.
It's like the finale from the Year of Hell, except the Voyager comes out completely unscathed.
Exactly, which does remind me, I do actually have to roll something. Yeah, the Arcadia does not give a single fuck about being hit. So yeah, this barge, completely in pieces, in, actually we'll say about 8 or 9 separate pieces, as the Arcadia just sort of drifts through the debris field and sort of begins angling around. But that is the Arcadia's turn. And we'll put the Arcadia there. And we come around to the Orions. Probably predictably, the Orions do start to send their interceptors at the Ophion. So the barge you are focusing on does launch a single interceptor towards you. And since I'm just going to handle the Orions all on the same turn, because it'll be easiest that way. This interceptor is going to close to about here, and will make a attack run on you. I am spending a little bit of threat here, so it can do that, not to worry. And it might help if I actually put on my macros. Let's see, there's the Arcadia, there's the Interceptor, there's the Barge. Alright, so let's roll for the Interceptor and see what happens. Yeah, the Interceptor's gonna hit you. So, this Interceptor comes in as an attack pattern, tries to, scare off the Ophion best it can. And let's see, it's going to roll this many challenge dice. Wow, Interceptor. Wow. So you guys are scale 5, but you also have a blade of armor, so that's 7 resistance, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Sounds right.
So you only take 2 damage. So, it's a very, very light impact on your shields as the Interceptor hits you. And you're just 2 shields less, but otherwise the Ophion's fine. Doesn't seem to care.
Alrighty. Captain Shield's still holding at 90%.
Ignore the Interceptor for the moment. Let's focus on the big ship.
Gotcha, Captain. Targeting Locke's point on the back of that barge.
Fire when ready.
Alright. And right before we get to that, we do have to handle the other Orions. So this Interceptor's going to get to here. This one's going to get to here. This one goes here. That one goes there. This guy moves up to there. And I think that's everyone. Yep, they've all moved. Okay. So, it is now the Ophion's turn.
Alrighty.
Phases.
I'll use phasers. And I'm going to target that spot that Locke gave me.
Okay.
Just declaring that, even though I know I get the piercing anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's going to be Control or daring plus security?
Ship combat, it is control security for the person firing and weapon security for the ship.
Yeah, I'll get that done.
And since you're doing phasers, the difficulty is a 2.
Okay.
Also, that piercing effect, we've got any bonus dice we purchase give us an extra effect.
Okay. And
Extra challenge die, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Do we want to spend momentum, or do we want to just have the ship hit him?
I say we could spend one of those momentum.
We probably
Sure,
can.
for damage, maybe. I think we're good hit.
Okay, so just roll normal, and we'll use the momentum for damage.
That's what I'd
Sure.
say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Could use the momentum for the re-roll dam. Oh no.
Okay.
Either one.
And applicable focus: shipboard tactical systems.
Oh yeah. Like that is
Mhm.
legitimately every focus that you could ever hope for.
That I was hoping it was going to be a catch-all. All right, so big bucks, no whammies.
Well, that is a resounding
that's big
success
bucks.
from Drake. How does the ship do? Ship does
Nice.
amazing. You're 4 momentum. Nice.
And then challenge for the ship for the phasers. Phaser race has 8 challenge dice.
Okay.
Plus an extra one for purchasing a dice.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So that's going to be 9 challenge dice.
Oh wait, no, you didn't
And-
purchase the dice, so never mind.
Well, it's fine. We'll say you did. Let's see. So that is piercing 6, I believe. Yes, because it's piercing 2 is 2 per effect. So not only are you able to completely decimate their engine systems, but the only thing that seems to be keeping this barge together at this point is a hope and a prayer. Like, you could breathe on this thing or throw a small rock at it and it would shatter apart.
All right. Direct hit on the barge. Engines down. Ship being held together by duct tape and baling wire.
Duly noted. Nice shot, Lieutenant.
Yay, teamwork.
Yay, teamwork. Alrighty. So, we come back around to the Arcadia's turn. And as you probably can guess, the Arcadia just sort of spins around, opens fire again, and more interceptors go poof. But that is the Arcadia's turn. We come back around to the Orions. And the Orion that you've hit starts to try and limp away, but it gets all of to there. This barge actually begins to angle away as if it's preparing to jump to warp. And this barge here seems to be on a suicide run because it gets to here and does not show any signs of slowing down. However, we do still have 2 interceptors. So this interceptor is going to come up, shoot at the Arcadia. Arcadia doesn't care. The other interceptor is going to fire at you guys again. Let's see how it does. This time the interceptor completely whiffs it. So, yeah, nothing bad there. And we come back around to the Ophion's turn.
Can I ask a quick question?
You may certainly ask a quick question.
The Arcadia, I mean, I understand the game mechanics, it could flip around, but in not so technobabble, but it's turn around to go the other direction. Let's say using us as a measuring stick, like how maneuverable is that ship?
I would say in order for it to have turned around like that, it would have had to move... Because this scale isn't 100%, so I would say it maybe took 1 or 2 hexes to completely turn around.
Okay. That's why I said, like, game mechanics, it could just spin on where it's at, but, like, I just wanted to know how maneuverable it is compared to, like, you know, Starfleet ships of the line type stuff.
No, it's a fair question to ask.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm technically giving the Arcadia a little bit more power than it should have, but that's obviously so that we don't have 80 Orion ships floating around. But yeah, it is your player's turn. What would you guys like to do?
I may as well regenerate shields.
Okay.
It's control plus engineering.
Yep, and it's only difficulty 1, and the ship does assist with structure engineering.
I got the ship.
Okay.
Yep. Ship power systems close enough?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's the one you need from the ship already.
The ship really wants its shields back.
It does.
Very much so.
All right,
And
so
now we're at
Nice.
Momentum.
you guys are maxed on momentum.
And then I'll, Captain, Murthrin worked a miracle. Shields are back at 100%.
Splendid.
So we come back around to the Arcadia, and as you've seen before, the Arcadia meets the Orion barge head on, and I get to roll challenge dice again. Let's see. Survey says.
Drake just kind of lets out a, ooh, that one looked like it hurt.
All right, let's see if the Arcadia took any. Nope, Arcadia still doesn't care.
Jesus.
And yeah, yet another Orion barge is just Lego'd. It's donezo. And yeah, on the remaining Orion's turn, the one that had angled away is going to jump to warp. And I believe this interceptor is going to beeline for this barge in an attempt to dock and get the hell out of here. The interceptor nearest to you guys is going to start to angle away also as if it's going to warp. And I believe I actually have to roll for that interceptor because it's nearest you, I think. Let's double check. No, it actually can just leave the battlefield. Okay, cool.
Damn. I was hoping to tractor it.
I mean, let me just double check here. Helm must spend 1 or more power and attempt to control plus con. Difficulty 0, assisted by engines plus con. Alright, I'll roll, and if it gets any complications, I'm going to let you guys have an opportunity to tractor it. Unfortunately, it rolled several critical successes, so it's going to be able to escape for the time being. So, that interceptor's gone. I believe the only thing left at this point is 1 interceptor and 1 barge, and it is your guys' turn.
Let's see. So we have a very damaged Orion ship that's looking like it's heavily damaged.
Yeah. It's in the process of running away.
I want to see what the Arcadia does.
What do you think it's going to do different?
Well, the fight is now over. This ship now does not pose a challenge to it. Will Arcadia finish it off, or will Arcadia let it run?
Okay.
Because
That will give us a lot of useful information.
it
You're
will.
attempting to gauge Harlock's empathy.
Precisely. Stand down, red alert. Assume yellow alert position.
We just clear it up a little bit here so it's a little bit easier to see. Oh, nope, that's the Arcadia. I did not want to give it to the
No,
Arcadia.
I like that one. That one could go away. That makes our job a lot easier.
No. All right, there it is, and I'll put it back where it was. All right. So, I guess you all, at this point, we don't need to be in Starship Combat rules anymore, but you watch as the Arcadia, again, kind of whips around, and instead of ramming, it does shoot the interceptor out of the sky. The interceptor goes bye-bye. But instead of ramming or shooting the barge, what it does is it comes up alongside it like this and begins launching several boarding lances, like great old giant harpoon type things, into the Orion barge's side. And although you can't see boarding parties being sent over, it's probably a safe bet that the Arcadia is boarding the hell out of the Orions and basically plundering them for all they've got.
I don't know what I was expecting, and I'm not sure why I was expecting anything other than this.
Can I know it's not my shtick, but can I scan?
Does the Federation have any rulings on pirates pirating other pirates?
It's still piracy.
It's still piracy, and whether or not that... But we're not in Federation space, and I don't feel the need to intervene.
And I don't think the captain wants that paperwork.
Yeah.
The Arcadia is at quite a disadvantage right now while it's interlocked with the Orion barge. If we were to make a move, this would be the opportune moment.
Well, Drake had a sensor scan. What were you looking for exactly?
Yeah, I was just actually going to whisper it to you instead. Scanning to see what is going from the Arcadia to the Orions. Because if we can't really scan like life signs and whatever that's on the Arcadia, maybe now that they're not on the Arcadia, we can scan and see what it is.
Certainly. Let's do a reason security, and the ship will assist with sensor security.
Yeah, this is not a money roll.
Let's make this difficulty 2.
I'm going to spend a momentum for an
Please
extra
do.
dice.
You have 6. Please do.
Because we have lots and I'm not going to ask anyway. I know for a fact that nothing I have that is an applicable focus. So,
Hey,
Nice.
look at that. You get the momentum right back.
And then the ship. I just closed the Ophion too. Oh, yeah. Ship, you said sensors plus security?
Correct. Oh, would you look at that? All right, so, excuse me. I will say that, remember, you can ask additional questions with momentum, but let me tell you what you find first. So, yeah, sure enough, your hunch is correct that while the hull of the Arcadia is pretty much non-penetrable by sensors, the boarding tubes that the giant harpoons sort of leave in their wake, much easier to sort of scan through. And you're seeing that there are human life signs, or at least they read human, and they are all wearing some form of armor, some form of armored exosuit. So they are prepared for vacuum, but at the same time, they also are a defensive measure, some sort of armor. And I'll say, because you succeeded so well, I'll give this to you free. You are detecting projectile weaponry being fired. Not like phasers or anything, but they seem to be carrying like crude projectile weapons.
Like, are we talking so crude that they're like black powder?
Oh no,
Or-
I'm talking like
Gyrojet type stuff?
yeah.
Federation.
Okay. As Drake's kind of like frantically reading everything, Captain, so those boarding parties coming across full exosuits, armed with, and Drake kind of leads off, but says projectile weapons?
Captain raises an eyebrow at that.
Well, we do have a railgun in our cargo bay, so.
You have a what and a where?
Well, in the armor, we do have that railgun, so it's not like we are completely projectile weapons.
Well, at least what I'm getting from my scans is we're not talking like that kind of technology. We're talking like
Gunpowder pistols.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but maybe a less techie version of that railgun you have in the armory, like gyrojet, maybe.
Well, now that the battle is over, perhaps they'll be more willing to talk to us, assuming the captain himself isn't leading the piracy efforts. Send another hail to the Arcadia, Mr. Panek, and request parley.
And one other thing, Captain, the scans I'm getting of the life signs I'm getting that have left the Arcadia appear to be human.
That does match intelligence information. Yes, based on what we know, Harlock is either is anti-xenophobic or anti-xenos, or just doesn't have aliens wherever his universe is.
And then, can I spend a momentum for one question?
You certainly can.
then I will spend a momentum and can I determine where those harpoons came out of, as in a possible future entry point into the Arcadia?
Sure. I would say that this may have been covered in a briefing, but kind of got overlooked. Is that on regular points on the sides of the ship, there are big old harpoon bays, and I would say there's maybe, we'll say 6 or 7 across the hull, and they're on
Okay.
both sides of the ship. So it's not just like on the left or the right. It is or starboard and port. It is on both sides.
Okay, both sides of basically. So if they line up like they're doing now, they can broadside with those harpoons.
Exactly. That was what I was looking for. They have broadside capability. Yes.
Gotcha.
Captain, it's probably worth noting that they are particularly vulnerable now. If we did destroy the Orion ship with a small torpedo barrage, it would also damage the Arcadia, and the explosion would probably carry through the harpoon casing to the interior.
It would also piss them off, Lieutenant, and I'm considering what he did to 3 of the 4 Orion barges. I'm trying my very damnedest not to piss him off.
Just advising that if we were going to attack, we were not going to get a better chance than that.
Agreed.
And I'd like to echo Lieutenant Locke's sentiment, Captain. If we are going to take a confrontational standpoint, this is probably the only shot we're going to get.
Agree. I understood, but my decision is made. We're
Yes,
proceeding
Captain.
with diplomacy. Have they responded to our request for parley yet, Pinek?
They have.
Indeed,
And
Captain.
this time it is a visual. And I'm going to put us on this map because this is what you're going to see on the view screen. Adjust it for the stream. So the view screen shifts, and you see the interior.
Oh lordy,
of,
this guy is so extra.
Yeah. You see the interior of a rather lavishly decorated, almost antique-looking captain's quarters. And sure enough, I mean, it looks pretty much what you're seeing on screen. You know, you've got those sort of, I guess I wouldn't call them cathedral-type windows, but sort of the what's the word for them?
Church?
Gothic arches?
Yeah, there we go. Gothic sort of trappings about the place. Obviously, instead of the woman that's actually part of the art, you see Captain Harlock in the chair. You also see a strange female individual that is sitting across from him. And if I had to qualify her in a few words, I would say she looks like a very, very thin humanoid that also has pointed ears and is overall a very lithe individual.
That's the one with the green hair?
Yeah, they definitely have the green hair. Their eyes, from what you're seeing, they're almost opaque, but if you look very carefully, you can see almost like cat-like irises in them. But, as this comes on screen, Captain Harlock just sort of looks at you and says, "So you wish to talk? Then let's talk." And this is where we're going to take our break. So, if you guys could be back by no later than, we'll say 4:20, that would be great.
So,
You're back.
BRB.
Does this count as a scene change?
Yes, this will count as a scene change. Alright, so this is where I mute myself for the benefit of the stream. So, of course, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you're having a good time. I did want to say thank you for the follows, the resubs, the subs. Hell, we even got a raid, so that's neat. I do, do a little bit of shilling here. Remember, if you've got Twitch Prime, you get a free sub to a channel every month. And I would love it if you picked me, but I completely understand if not. Because, as always, you never need to subscribe to listen to my content or watch my content. It's always an optional sort of thing. And, of course, I appreciate any and all support that you all give me. Other than that, just again, a reminder that I will be at PAX West in person, and I will be doing my damnedest to run an in-person game of Star Trek Adventures. I do not believe it's going to have any connection to any of my 3 games, but we'll see what happens between now and then. I still have some planning to do. And again, if you're interested in that sort of thing, I would say just sort of watch my Twitter and maybe just sort of scope out tables for Star Trek Adventures games. I don't want to say I'll probably be the only one, but it's highly likely. But yeah, just sort of watch Twitter and keep an ear to the ground. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to go ahead and unmute myself for the rest of the guys. And I'm back, guys. I miss anything?
Literally nothing.
Literally nothing. All right.
Yep, just boiling the coffee.
Apparently, they're doing. Modiphius is doing Shield of Tomorrow minis.
Really?
Ooh, fun.
Like character minis, not like ship minis.
Probably, yeah. The characters from the Shield of Tomorrow stream as minis.
That's neat. I'm curious how that licensing goes, but sure.
I imagine Geek and Sundry doesn't own the characters per se because it's owned by, like, Star Trek is owned by CBS. I just imagine it's just they can do minis and of an Endorian and Trill.
That's one of those things where CBS has always kind of been stingy with their thing.
Yeah, that is a sort of weird situation that you have with like actual play is that you don't get with other series. Is who owns the characters from a licensing standpoint?
I mean,
The
personally,
lawyers do.
Like, are Vox Machina owned by the cast and licensed out to Geek and Sundry, or do Geek and Sundry technically own the Vox Machina characters?
I think, well, since Critical Role pulled away from Geek and Sundry slightly, I think it's Geek. The Critical Role people own themselves.
right?
Yeah, it might get fuzzier with the Dragonborn sorcerer character because that player isn't.
I do remember that, like, for the longest time, there was a little. They did sort of like not have anything with Tiberius on it, just because like Orion himself was a little bit iffy about the character being sort of used when he wasn't there.
Yeah,
But they had him in the Origin comics, so they probably got that sorted out.
yeah, they probably. Yeah, but of course, yeah, they were all friends. I'm assuming they did it in a non-legal capacity, approaching him with permission. Yeah, it is funky, but I suppose it's even trickier with the who owns the Shield of Tomorrow character.
I mean, I'm of the mindset that people's characters belong to themselves, but if I were ever to like, if the miracle happens and suddenly this time next year I'm running a 1,000 viewer stream and I'm trying to figure out who owns what, I think I'm always going to be of the mindset that people own their own characters, and that means you're free to get art of them, you're free to sell their likenesses, things of that nature. But I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the first thing about law, so I might just be talking out of my ass.
It's come up with the continuing mission site a couple times in back discussions over people wanting to host some of the content. So shout out for the continuing mission site, which I'm now technically the administrator of.
Hey.
So the question is, can someone mirror the site or mirror the races and species and ships? And the question is always, well, we did it. It's technically copyright, like me and other writers, but we're technically stealing from CBS since we don't own the rights to like bullions and stuff like that. So we can't really protest, and the whole point is to get it out to the fans. So,
Well, the
we can't
licensing comes into play when people use their likenesses, etc., to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And one could argue that the money being made, well, first of all, obviously the Star Trek Adventures folks have gotten everything licensed, so that's one thing. And then what we're doing is different. It's like why Let's Players don't get sued off the face of the earth by the game manufacturers.
Fair
That is
use.
actually.
The likeness is probably the big thing because
But
it's
strictly speaking, they're kind of creating their own content with tools provided.
Mm-hmm.
How would that work if you set up a donation, like a Patreon on your site? That's
I think that's where it gets murky.
yeah. It's,
Yeah.
once you start profiting, you are throwing it out the window. You never profit. It has to be. Even a tip jar is probably crossing the line.
Right. I
But
think
I don't
the only way to
let's
get
all
around. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying that we all get ELH to a 1,000 stream series and a Patreon account. We'll just see which lawyers do what.
So I was thinking Patreon for a continuing mission would be crossing the line. For a stream like this, yeah, like since the subscribers would be giving money to watch the show or support the show that way, I think it's slightly different because it's not the content, it's the entertainment experience you're paying for.
Right.
I'm assuming it was because they thought that was the one that would stick most easily, but I always found it weird that sort of fan Star Trek documentary that got shut down, the thing that they were officially being charged with was breaching the copyright on the Klingon language.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, the Axonar thing. Yeah, that was
the XNR.
Like not the other stuff, like the making up like CGI ships and all that, or being set in the Star Trek universe. It was no. That language, those Klingon words are copyrighted.
I imagine that was like the easiest to get by with the lawyer because everything else is you have to start arguing what's trademarked and what isn't. Trickier.
Right.
This
Go
will-
with the
Yes, we'll get through
but
this easily.
Axonar-
Oh, wait, there's like suddenly we've got a whole bunch of affidavits from people going in. No, this counts as an actual language now. It's evolved.
Axonar also had a couple of actual actors coming back
True.
to reprise characters.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, as you put it yourself there, Captain, I always find it amusing and humbling that, other than this group, people actually find entertainment in my little games. And that's all I can really ask for as a GM.
Hooray, we're famous.
Yeah. Question, is Drake back yet? Okay.
I still occasionally get someone on Reddit sort of doing a double take and go, wait, you're the guy who wrote that story. Yes, I am.
Every once in a rare while, I get a PM on Reddit asking for a take on the Dornian Heresy Death Watch rules I wrote a while back. So it's kind of fun to know that's still out and about.
All right. Well, I tell you what. Even though Drake isn't here, let's go ahead and start things back up, and he'll just he'll join on when he can. So yeah, Captain Harlock is literally just saying, "Let us talk." And yeah, Captain, I'm gonna let you parley as you will.
Greetings. I am Captain Barton Skull of the USS Ophion, representing the United Federation of Planets. We detected your ship once again out in our neck of the woods, and Starfleet just sent me out to make sure that everything is copacetic.
So, just to be clear, Starfleet had no idea that these wonderful people of Theta Cygni 12 were being exploited and otherwise sold off as slave laborers to the Orion. You had no knowledge of that before you came here.
Admittedly, we did not. The Federation's borders do not extend this far. These people eschewed the protection of the United Federation of Planets for reasons of their own, and we have respected their independence. They could have asked for help, and we would have been happy to do so, but Starfleet never received any plea for aid.
You see, that's it's a little bit funny, because I have on record here that they sent out a distress call back in 2377, and nothing ever came of it.
Now, let's see. 2377 was in the peak of the Dominion War, was it?
No, Dominion War ended 2375. 2377 would have been a year before the Ophion even launched.
Right. I apologize, Captain. I do not have any direct responsibility for the actions of or inactions of the Federation during that time. I was not captain, and this ship was not launched at that time.
Well, speaking of your ship, let's address that elephant in the room, shall we? Tell me, why does Starfleet find it so important to have such a warship as the Ophion making such momentous discoveries out here in the Sabine Expanse?
The Ophion is sent where Starfleet deems it best to be sent. And the fact that we have made such interesting discoveries we stumbled upon one thing, and then we followed the path to another, then another, then another. One could say that if you believe in fate, it is possible that we were fated to discover this stuff, or if you believe in dumb luck or healthy detective skills, that could be a healthy mixture.
It is also not uncommon that during peacetime, ships of war are repurposed, such as the Ophion has been.
So if I understand what you've just said correctly, you fully deny that Starfleet has deliberately sent the Ophion and ships like it into the Expanse for the purpose of conquest.
Correct. If you are interested in gaining insight yourself, you are more than welcome to make contact with any of the other species that we have spoken with.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to be having a conversation with the Osheriks after I leave here. But I did want to make one thing clear.
That's a distressing comment.
He does kind of pick up a glass of wine, swirls it a little bit, takes a sip, puts it back down, says, "You may call it simple exploration and claiming, but I view everything that the Federation has done out here in the Sabine Expanse over the past 6 years to be nothing more than Federation imperialism. And unless you have a very good reasoning otherwise, I think it's best if we simply go our separate ways at this point."
I believe that I do not have an answer that will satisfy your preconceptions, Captain. If you are interested in learning more of the Federation, I can certainly set up a meeting between you and any of the Admiralty or diplomats on your terms. But I do believe it best for all of us that we just understand that the situation has been resolved and we move on.
So there are people in Starfleet with half a brain. You would have thought with the Nezkov that any moron could see that they were being bullied into Starfleet membership, but perhaps that's a bit too in the weeds for this discussion. Very well, Captain. You have no quarrel with us. We have no quarrel with you. Let's just say we never saw each other.
I bid you good speed and good winds, Captain.
Kind of pauses for a second, looks to his fellow compatriot, and she just sort of, I guess you would call it a smile. It's very Vulcan-like in that it's barely like a twitch. And he nods and says, "Same to you, Captain." And the transmission cuts out, and we're back on the bridge.
Sorry, what was that species name? The Nagiv?
No, the Nezkov.
Nezkov.
And anyone who would, on the bridge look it up while that was said would see that was a actually fairly recent addition to the Federation over in the Beta Quadrant. And whatever circumstances may have surrounded that, you'd have to dig for further information. Where did I put Skull's token? There's Skull's
Captain
token.
Harlock certainly seems to be well informed of galactic events, especially ones such far out of his position.
Indeed. wait until his ship leaves, and then send a heads up to our diplomat of the Oshiriks that they are going to be that they should prepare for Harlock's arrival however they deem fit. I have a suspicion that the captain does not like being spied on. Well, we're out here now. Commander, send a message to the planet and ask if they require any assistance.
Aye, Captain.
Alright, so, you send out a communication to the planet. There's a bit of a pause, and you do get a reply, but at first it is purely static. Like, you're not even getting audible, well, not audible, but comprehensible audio, and the video is just garbled to all hell and back. But you are getting a signal.
Locke, can you clean that up?
I'll do what I can. I'll put it through some algorithms to get rid of the static.
Sure. Locke, if you would roll me a very standard, I would say control science in this instance. Let's say that the ship is going to assist with communications, and let's do science.
All right, I got the ship.
Okay. I'm going to make this, let's make it a difficulty 2.
About communication interception as a focus.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there's one success. Does the ship get you the other one?
Nope.
Does not. Okay.
It's me, momentum. It's foolish not to buy some. Oh.
Yeah.
Hindsight and regret is 2020.
Yep. All right. I'll say that Locke, you do your damnedest to run it through a sort of a scrubbing, and you're just not getting through. I will say that you will get enough of a success to know that the problem is not with the Ophion, but is with whatever transmitter the people on the planet are using.
So we're not able to hear anything from them? Just garbled noise?
Sort of imagine old satellite days where you could get like half a channel, but the channel was green and the lines were wavy and you couldn't really tell what they were saying.
Okay.
Things of that nature.
Okay. Send a message down in plain text, informing them that we will dispatch an engineering and tactical team to assist with restoring their communications and as restoring what we can. They are, of course, welcome to refuse our aid if they deem necessary. Commander, if you could prepare an away team.
Aye, Captain. I will prepare an away team right now.
Locke, see where that signal's coming from and set transporter coordinates to get as close to that signal as possible.
Aye, sir. Try to triangulate the different communication relays in the Ophion.
Okay, that is simply, you can do that no problem. And since you have 4 momentum, we'll not make a roll of it. But yeah, you're very easily able to triangulate the signal. But yeah, question, Panek, who are you taking on your away team?
Probably Murthrin.
Okay.
Obviously I'll go. Maybe Shatsu.
Okay. Not Drake?
Isn't Drake more of a Oh yeah, he's more of a soldier. Yeah, I'll take Drake.
Okay, just looking out for Drake. Alright, so Drake's going. Is Locke going, or is Locke staying?
Do you need me to come, Commander, or would you prefer me up here?
The current situation is unknown. Your scientific expertise could be used.
Nice, sir. I will grab my tricordis.
Alright, I think I got everyone's token ready. Okay. So, go ahead.
While they're doing that, I'm going to start digging through Starfleet logs to find out what happened to that original distress signal.
Okay.
If it was received or not, and what the response was.
Okay. We'll handle you in a moment, Captain. So let's cut to the away team. And I actually didn't expect you guys to get to this point, so I don't have a map, so we're just going to use Theater of the Mind. You all beam down to what I would describe as a frontier colony. And by that I mean there's not a whole lot of structures, and what structures are present are either, I guess you would call them refurbs, or they're parts of a ship. Basically, they have used whatever materials they brought with them or have scavenged over the years to create dwellings and other sorts of structures to either protect themselves from the elements or to house certain things like people. And when you beam down, the very first thing you notice is that there are a multitude of Orion bodies that are littering the streets. And there are humans that are beginning to corral these bodies. And as soon as you beam down, a group nearest you sort of stops what they're doing, loading the Orions off to go to places unknowns. And one of them comes up to you and says, "Oi! Where are you from?"
She's talking to me, right?
Yeah.
I'm Commander Panek of the USS Ophion. We attempted to establish contact with your colony in orbit, but your communication seemed damaged. Do you require assistance?
Just sort of motions around and says, "Does it look like we need assistance?"
Perhaps.
It's a rhetorical question. Of course we fucking need assistance. Let me guess, you're Starfleet, right?
Indeed. If you could please direct us towards where you require us, we will begin.
Oh, you see that body there? And she points to one that's maybe 5 feet away from you.
Do you need it reclaimed, disintegrated?
I want you to pick up the body, I want you to put it on the cart, and I want you to do that until there are no more bodies on this damn street.
We could simply communicate up to the Ophion to transport these bodies out of the way.
Well, isn't that all nice and Federation of you?
Yep, and I think Merthin will sort of lean in and go, "Yeah, I don't need to be an empath to know we're not exactly welcome here."
Do you need any help repairing or getting your infrastructure back in order, or is it just the mass grave you need help?
So the individual kind of looks at you at Locke and says, "You're blue. I've never seen a blue one before."
Yes. But they're all blue where I come from. Except the ones who aren't.
Kind of starts a little bit, goes, "All right, you want to help? You already identified there's a problem with our comms array. You want to fix it? Great. If not, we got bodies to move."
Yep, so Merthin will sort of follow Locke as they try to find what looks like the communications hub.
Well, no, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
While they're doing that, I want to start scanning for weapons.
Okay.
On preferably not the Orions, because I'm sure they were armed, but like the people around.
Okay. I would say I'm gonna give this to you free, Drake. All of these people seem to carry similar weaponry that the Arcadia crew had.
Interesting. If Panek's not talking to the person who is being a jerk, I'll just kind of lean in, from behind Panek and just kind of lean over. Commander, they're all armed with the same weapons that the Arcadia crew was armed.
I see this, Lieutenant. Again, we are here to provide assistance. If you do not require assistance, then we will be taking our leave.
So, again, the individual you're talking to just sort of sighs and says, "All right, look, you want to help, go talk to Mr. Stevens. He's in that building there." And they point at a small little, I guess you would call it a dome structure. I'm trying to remember the specific Indian type structure, but it's evading me for the moment. Just
TP?
imagine... Oh, go ahead.
Are you talking about a teepee?
Wigwam.
No.
Wigwam.
Like, is it
Indian.
Pueblo? that do the sort of in a rock face with the domes, and I'll look it up later.
One of them, yeah.
If you know the general architecture, what I'm trying to get at, I think Pueblo's a good descriptor. It looks very natural. It doesn't look very artificial in nature. But it does seem to be one of the bigger buildings in this place. But not to worry, I have not forgotten about Locke and Murthrin. So maybe while Panek and Drake go to see Mr. Stevens, Locke and Murthrin, you guys find the comms tower very easily. It is the tallest structure in the immediate area. And pretty much on arrival, you two immediately see what the problem is. The base of the array where most of the controls are and where most of the power connection conduits sort of run into the ground and to whatever generator they're using. Let's just say it's taken some hits, presumably from disruptor fire, either from the Orions or whatever the colonists have, kind of taken up themselves.
Well, this is going to need replacing, but in the meantime, let's see if we can't cannibalize what's here to at least get comms up.
Okay.
Shouldn't be that bad.
What happened here? Did you see how many dead Orions there were out there?
Yes, it looks like the Ryans had set up a nice little slave camp here, and the Arcadia violently freed them.
How did we not hear about this?
Big galaxy?
A big galaxy still, but right on our border. This is the kind of thing that Starfleet should get on top of as soon as we find out about it. How is this the first we've heard of it? This isn't like a completely unheard of colony. I mean, for goodness sake, Captain Kirk's son lived here at one point.
If they're not part of the Federation and they're not calling for help, I suppose it's a matter we can't check on every colony regularly. Starfleet isn't a police service. We are still undershipped after the Dominion War.
Oh, well, let's get this thing working. And he pulls out a tricorder and starts doing an initial diagnosis.
Okay. Let's say insight engineering from the both of you. You guys can figure out who's doing the main role and who's assisting.
I've got an 11 and a 5.
Let's make this a difficulty 2.
All right, I'll spend a momentum to get a third die.
Very easily, Drake, while he's doing that. Very easily.
Good to know.
Alright, so no help from Locke.
Not really any focuses that apply here, because those are all ship-based. Data pattern analysis? No, that's not really for repairing stuff.
Yeah, if you have jury rigging, I could give that to you.
Actually, I do have jury rigging.
There you go.
Alright, so that'll reduce it to 0. And the repairs will only last for a single scene plus 1 per momentum spent before they fail again. So I don't know how long we'll be here, but let's spend a momentum to get it to last at least another scene.
Okay.
Until we can get some people down here to repair it properly.
Alright, well, as long as you succeed on this, I have a perfect time frame in mind.
Alright, so 2d20s. 1 success.
Okay. That's all you need with jury rigging. So yeah, this might be the frontier, and Murthrin might not be the, at least on the surface, may not seem as the type that can work with a megaphone, a squirrel, and some rope. But sure enough, between Locke and Murthrin, you guys are able to bypass some of the damaged circuitry, realign some of the power flow, and sure enough, you're able to get a clear signal back up to the Ophion.
There, okay. That's going to completely fry the focusing crystal, but we should be able to get a replacement from the Ophion.
And I'll say time frame wise, this will last probably the next 24 hours.
Enough time for them to maybe signal for get a subspace signal out.
All right, let's test it. Murthrin hailing Ophion.
Ophion here. Go ahead.
Okay, good. We've got the comms tower back up and working until we can get a proper repair team down.
What's the situation on the surface?
Dead Orions as far as the eye can see? In short, from the looks of things, they've been here a while.
That's distressing. I'm going to have to figure out why Starfleet never responded to their initial distress signal. How many colonists are down there?
Didn't get a good look. I mean, a few. They weren't particularly enthused to see us.
There might be quite a few Arcadian crew members here as well.
Yeah, they were using the same weapons.
Oh. See what you can do to get your hands on one of them.
Well, no promises. I imagine they'll be keeping a close eye on us while we're here, but I'll see what I can do.
No expectations. Just Starfleet would appreciate any technology we can get from this. Even if it is a standard flintlock pistol or whatever they use. Skull out.
So on, and I'll put Skull's on the top so that he represents being in space. But Skull, it's about that time that Tin sort of turns in his chair and says, "Sir, I have the report you wanted about the 2377 supposed communication."
Thank you, Chief. What's it say?
Sir, you might want to view this in your ready room.
That's interesting. Okay. Whoever is currently highest ranked has the bridge, which would be Shatsu, I suppose.
Yep, it would be Shatsu. All right. So, Captain, you go to your ready room and see the report, and the gist of the report is that initially the signal in 2377, the distress call, when it was sent out, it was picked up by the USS Missouri, a passing Saber class in the area. And the Missouri, of course, reported this to Starfleet and was about to, respond to the distress call. But Starfleet, for whatever reason, told them to ignore it and continue on their way. Now, you don't know who gave that order at Starfleet. You don't know, the comm frequency or anything of that nature. Like, there's no way looking at this report to know who made that decision, but that decision was made nonetheless.
Okay. I'm going to send... Admiral Thesso will need an update anyways, so I'm going to prepare... If Admiral Thesso is reachable via comms from out here, I'll send him a message.
Now, you can actually raise him real time if you so wish.
Works for me.
All right, so you raise our illustrious Admiral, and he says, Captain Skull, how goes the Arcadia situation?
I'm sorry, did you say illustrious or lustrous, just because he has very good hair?
Why not both?
Okay, just...
Admiral. Me, or do you love my hair? Caress in the air like a silky prayer.
Oh, God. We of course, have to put him on screen for this.
Of course. Admiral, USS Ophion reporting success... reporting outcome of our mission with the Arcadia.
Go on.
Captain Harlock was found engaged in a battle against a numerically superior Orion fleet. 3 barges and several interceptors were already destroyed by the time we showed up, and then he polished off the rest in relatively quick order. Side note, Admiral, you really don't want to get hit by that. That thing's a ramming machine. Anyways, the Ophion is now assisting the people of Theta Cygni 12. which I'm looking for your assistance on. The Orions had been using them as a slave labor camp since 2377. Apparently, the USS Missouri received a distress signal from them and was promptly ordered to ignore it. If you can reference document 672134-56 alpha beta gamma point 3. I'm hoping that you might, with your clearance, you might gain more insight as to why Starfleet made that decision.
It's odd, but give me a moment here, Captain. And he works for a little bit and says, well, Captain, let's just say over this current secure-ish line that this is security level 10, meaning it is need-to-know basis only.
Well, Admiral, all respect, I'm now orbiting this planet. There are scaths of dead Orions down there, and the populace is now appears to be armed with what appears to be solid shot projectile weapons, most likely donated to them by Harlock's crew. I would like to request that, or I'd like to state that I would very much like to know.
Trust me, Captain, I want to know as much as you do, but maybe I wasn't clear. It's need to know in that even I don't have access to that information.
All right, then I shall. I don't suppose you could put in such request to get me access to this information while I continue to solve this situation blindfolded and poking things with a stick.
I'll see what I can do, Captain, and even if nothing comes of it, I will extend my personal apologies for leaving you in the dark. I know how much you hate that sort of thing.
Yes, I prefer a transparent Starfleet, sir, although I do understand why classified information has to exist. I just hate it when I'm the one that doesn't get access to it. Ophion out.
All right. So we're actually going to cut down to Panek and Drake at this point. And we'll deal with that in a second, Drake. So,
Gotcha.
at this point, you guys have met Mr. Stevens, and Mr. Stevens, if I had to qualify him, is that sort of seedy business type, kind of wringing his hands, and I guess you would almost call him a quasi-Ferengi. He seems to be more interested in profits and how you can help him rather than the other way around. And he says, so you're from the Ophion, huh? How much help are you gonna give us?
It would depend on what help you need.
Well, got any food? We'll gladly take food. If you got extra supplies, we'll take those off your hands too.
I can see about having our supplies requisitioned and sent down. If you could give us a list of what you need, we will see to it.
Certainly. You over there, get me a list. And random peon that he's pointed to says, "Certainly, Mr. Stevens." And peon runs off, and Stevens says, "So, how long are you gonna be in the area?"
What is the answer to that?
That is up to you guys as players, really.
I'm leaning towards do the initial take care of repairing the infrastructure that would be out of their hands to deal with immediately, get through the initial crisis management part, and then once they're all set up to be self-sufficient and defend themselves, let them take care of the details.
The Ophion will be maintaining a standard orbit long enough to supply you with what you need and repair your facilities. Once you are at a position that you are capable of continuing on your own, we will most likely be leaving back for our regular scheduled position.
All right. And, Stevens thinks about this for a few moments, says, Right. Well, as you can see, I'm a busy man. He does not look like a busy man. So, won't tell you to leave, but I kind of have things to work on.
I'm sorry, you broke up just then from me. What did you just say?
Basically, Mr. Stevens said he's a busy man. He does not look like a busy man. And he says he has, quote unquote, things to work on.
Very well. Then we won't take up any more of your time. And I'll kind of look at Murthrum and kind of, I guess, send him like an empathic kind of feeling of questioning. What are you picking up?
Well, Murthrum's over in the
Yeah,
comms.
Murthrin's at the comms.
that's right,
All you have
that's
with
right,
you is
that's right.
Drake.
Then I'll just kind of quizzically look at Drake and get his see what he's picking up off this guy with his soldier abilities.
Drake will lean over. This guy's an asshole, and he doesn't know what he's doing.
An astute observation, Lieutenant. But what exactly can we do just because someone's an asshole?
I mean, I can punch him in the face, but
That would be highly unnecessary. They've given us the list. We will give them the supplies. Beyond that, we cannot force their help onto them.
that's understood, Commander. I'm merely stating a fact, and I don't really think they want us here. And I think whatever aid that the Arcadia is giving them is a better deal for this man.
All right, so I'm gonna transmit the list up to the Ophion, requisition the supplies, and have them transported down.
Okay. So, Drake and Panek, as you sort of walk out of the place where Mr. Stevens is, you literally run into Captain Harlock himself. He's not escorted by anyone. He's just wandering alone. And he goes very specifically up to Lieutenant Drake and sort of sizes him up. Drake, I think you're what, 5'10", 5 something?
No, I'm Drake's well over 6 feet.
Okay, well in that case,
and I'm also giving him the exact same look of like sizing him up.
Okay, I will say then in that case, Harlock and Drake are probably about the same size, and Harlock just sort of cracks a smile and says, "I don't get the feeling you're looking for something in particular, Mr. Drake."
Me? We are just here to offer aid to this colony.
Captain, surprising to see you here. We believe you had disengaged from this area of space and we're heading towards your sheer ascendancy. Is there something we can do for you?
I wish to ensure that the people here are on good footing before I leave. But then he deliberately turns away from Panek again and looks to Drake and says, "We're both men of tactical acumen. I think it's safe to say we both know when the other's looking for an advantage. What is it you're after, Mr. Drake?"
I am simply here as part of an away team to offer aid to this colony. What are you here after?
He says with a complete deadpan.
Yeah, he says with a complete deadpan. Harlock kind of looks you over again and says, "Well, then you wouldn't be interested in having one of my weapons. Fair enough." And he turns and does a cape flourish and begins walking away. But you could stop him if you so wished.
Well, I mean, if you're here and you're offering it, what would you like in return? Another trophy for your cathedral of a bridge?
So, he doesn't answer. He just sort of, well, he does answer in a way. He, not even looking back at you, tosses a, it looks like some sort of futuristic handgun, like obviously better than today's technology, but still projectile and thus quote-unquote inferior to Federation technology. And, you have to scramble to catch it. And he says, "Consider that a gift. See that it goes to good use." And he just keeps walking.
Commander, permission to throw something at him?
Denied, Lieutenant.
Um, I forget, is Panek a telepath or an empath?
He's a Vulcan, so...
Or either?
Well, it's a case of Vulcans. Technically, they're not telepaths. Like
It's on
they
my
have some
sheet.
telepathic
We have
ability.
touch telepathy. We have touch telepathy.
Yeah, touch telepathy.
Okay. Even though Drake is completely deadpan, completely just not showing any outwardly signs, we'll say I accidentally bump into Panek. He gets the most unending, undeniable rage. Is just like targeted at the back of Harlock leaping, and a sense of I'm going to kill him. But Drake is standing there, not moving, not doing anything else.
Yeah. Meanwhile, across the city, Murthrin sort of looks up and goes, ooh, someone's angry.
Is there something for me to be concerned about, Lieutenant? Are you unable to maintain the discipline I expect of my officers?
Whatever do you mean, Commander?
Ah, indeed. Let's keep it that way, Lieutenant.
When we walk out away from all of the other, like, colonists, I will pull Panek aside before Murthrin and Locke get back.
Okay.
I'm guessing that you've learned my little secret now, that I'm very good at keeping my emotions not on my face or on my sleeve, as other humans would say.
Would seem to be a trait that would do you well. However, your opinion of Captain Harlock is of no interest to me. I expect you to follow my orders in regards to him, regardless of what rage or animosity you feel. Is that clear, Lieutenant?
Crystal clear, Commander. And the reason I wanted to have a word with you now is to tell you that I will act accordingly as an officer under your command, and to let you know that if it ever gets to the point where, let's use this colloquialism, you ever need to take the leash off, all you need to do is point me in a direction.
That is quite a unsatisfactory comment, Lieutenant Drake. I do not sick my officers onto people, but it is noted.
Understood, Commander. Now, shall we find the rest of our away team?
Indeed, before the rest of these colonists grow agitated with us.
So, unless anyone wants to continue planetside, we will simply...
there is something Murthrin would like to do.
Yes, what would Murthrin like to do?
Once we've got the comms array sort of up and running, Murthrin will sort of take Locke aside and say, hey, could you come here for a minute?
Oh, yes. What do you need, Commander?
Before the rest of the repair team get in here, I want you to sort of help me look through go over and see if we can't find some logs or records of what the Orions were doing here, or which Orions were working here, and figure out who they were working for, or just find some reason why this whole thing went unnoted for so long.
Is there a computer system we could tap into, or?
I would say you could probably backtrace through the comms array.
Either through the comm station or go outside and look for something that looks like it used to be an Orion structure and code through that.
Yeah, either would work.
And basically, it's a case of Murthrin doesn't know what he's looking for. It's just something's off here. I'm looking for something.
Locke's going to go through the comms computer system. That way it looks like he's still repairing drawing.
I'm going to give this to you free. You do come across the mention several times, and this is why it stands out, is you continually keep seeing this name. And there is a man in the Orion Syndicate by the name of Hatton, Haton. And these communiques that you're seeing all seem to be reports about the Theta Cygni 12 penal colony, or not penal colony, mines, I guess would be.
Labor colony?
There you go, labor colony. That's the words I was looking for. Yes, how the labor colony is proceeding. And Hatton doesn't really ever reply to these, except for one time. And that one time was about a month ago, asking if he had seen any signs that the workforce was about to rebel or was showing signs of some sort of resistance.
Make a signature.
Well, I guess they were.
How many civilians seem to still be at the colony?
Well, if you do a quick sort of census, there are approximately 50,000 individuals in the colony. All of them human, by the way.
Any children? I think we'll get some good information from kids, I think.
There are a few kids, but based on what you're seeing on your scans, they are sort of sequestered away, far away from this conflict site. So you would have to actively go out of your way to find a kid.
Commander, maybe it might be worthwhile to beam down medical teams, see if we can treat anyone's injuries, check for illnesses, sicknesses, and see if we can get any more information. Settle in information gathering via. See if they need any supplies or food. Replacement replicators.
I'll go talk to some of the colonists, see if anyone's in charge of organizing triage.
Okay. All right.
And Murthrin will sort of do the standard relief work thing. Okay, who's in charge? Right, here's some medical stuff. They'll follow your directions. Yada yada yada.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So then the sort of the last scene I have in mind is. If you were to imagine the Ophion and the Arcadia in orbit above Theta Cygni 12, the Arcadia begins to angle away from the planet, and you would see, either on the view screen or however you want to imagine it, you see the engines of the Arcadia begin to spool up, and very similarly to how one would jump to warp or when it start QSD, they launch off and disappear in a flash of light. And I think that's where we're going to end the session. So players, of course, stick around so we can chat a little bit more. But to anyone watching on Twitch or on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you had a good time, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.